Hello everybody, it's me, Corbin, and today I wanted to talk about politics, philosophy, the stuff I've been talking about lately, but I don't have, this video isn't going to be very consistent, not even sure if it's going to be coherent, because there's a lot of things I've been thinking about that I want to talk about. Because I've noticed lately, I don't really get pleasure out of movies and video games as much as I used to, or I don't get as much pleasure out of a lot of things that I used to get pleasure out of. Because lately, I just feel that I enjoy my interpretation of things more than I actually enjoy things, and it's hard for me to not think while I'm watching a movie or a show or reading. Like when a thought or an idea is planted in my brain, I just take it into 20 different directions, and it feels like I'm going crazy sometimes, because it feels like my thoughts are not just one person's thoughts, but a bunch of different contradicting thoughts between different people screaming over each other to be like the dominant voice, and you notice that there are people that think visually about things. I've noticed, and I'm not a visual thinker. It's actually hard for me to think of visuals, which is why when I draw things, it never turns out the way I was imagining it in my head. When I'm drawing, it's like it just goes somewhere. My hand just moves naturally on its own. I don't have a planned image that I want to draw. It just happens naturally. And I don't know what that part of me is, because I'm not a visual thinker. That just is, it's like a part of my brain that I think of with in a different way, I think, because I'm a much more, I think in words, and sometimes I think it pretentiously, where I'm thinking in long words rather than short words that could be easily used instead. But a lot of times when I'm thinking, for some reason I forget the smaller word for something and just think of the long word, and then I get really angry at myself because I'm trying to think of what the simple fucking word is that everybody uses. But it feels like I go crazy sometimes trying to actually come to a conclusion on anything, because there's you are not just yourself, but the people you associate with. Your parents, your friends, you're the books you read, you're the news you watch, and more than anything, you're the choices you make. Sure, but the choices I make don't reflect the thoughts I have. And there was an interesting study that was done before, or not study, I guess it was I don't know if you call it experiment or what, but because it was a treatment for some kind of mental thing. I don't know what it was, but some kind of like brain disease or something. And the way they treated it was they would cut your brain in half back to like a certain part back in here. Like they'd cut your brain in half, and both sides of your brain would think and process things differently. And I thought it was really interesting, because it made me think more about the way I think about things. And it's it's like I go back and forth between left brain and right brain on a lot of things, or ego and id, or whatever you want to call it. I go back and forth a lot. And I try to have real conversations with myself, and having a conversation with yourself means you can't have the same opinion as yourself. You have to have contradicting opinions in order to even have a philosophical conversation with yourself. And it sort of terrifies me in a way, because it's like, who exactly am I? If I deep down went searching in the roots of what I am, at the very core, who am I? Is there even a core? Is there even a soul? Am I my soul? Am I my brain? Or am I just all of the body parts that make me who I am? And when I die, will my soul go somewhere into everything else, into like God or heaven or some thing that connects us all? Like, does that consciousness go? Does the collective consciousness exist in itself? Or what if human beings aren't, what if we're just animals and don't have souls, and all animals don't have souls, and whatever this thing is that we're connecting to is just some other thing, like, you know how we connect to the internet, or connect to, or cable is all connected, or, you know, it's a series of tubes. But I mean, what if our thoughts are sort of like that kind of connection? Because an animal is programmed by nature, right? An animal knows exactly what it needs to do to survive. An animal knows exactly the decision it wants to make. It's an animal sort of works like Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch. It takes what it wants, it does what it wants. It doesn't consider things like morality. It just does what it wants. But something that makes us more empathetic or intellectual or something. What if that's not us? That's just a connection to something else. Like, what if that's just something that exists in itself? And I'm not saying that this is true. I'm just saying that this is an idea. I consider millions of possibilities every fucking day that drive me crazy because it's not provable. And that's the part about religion that terrifies me, is that none of it's provable. It's all just ideas that you're basing on other people's ideas to come to some other conclusion. And my conclusions are really different than everyone else's. And sometimes I feel really disconnected from people, but also I think that we all must be connected intellectually. Like, our minds have to be connected because we're able to visualize things so interestingly, like the way the uncanniness works, where if I look at a piece of art and I'm like, there's something disturbing about it because it looks vaguely human but not. It's almost like it's programmed in us to recognize that something that something is dangerous, you know, like a snake, like when cats freak out about cucumbers because they think they're fucking snakes or something. Like, it's like they're programmed to know, this is what this thing looks like. This is what I'm supposed to be scared of. This is my natural programming. Or not natural programming, but like, because I don't think that is, but yeah, that would be natural program. But like, the memories of our ancestors or something are in us, maybe. But anyways, what I'm saying is, whatever this thing is, whatever we call the soul or the spirit or the collective unconscious or nirvana, what if it's all just this, it's something that we're connected to? And what if it's not a good thing? Because, I mean, are animals happier than human beings? Like, an animal knows what it's supposed to do. But whatever this connection is, it could be, you know, tearing us away from what makes us animals, from what makes us natural. Like, whatever this thing is that we're connecting to could be something wrong, you know? It could be something that, because animals don't kill themselves, right? Animals don't commit suicide. And animals typically don't want to kill their own species for the heck of it. They usually have a reason that they automatically know somehow for killing another species. Like, animals will kill their children if they don't think their children will survive, which shows that, and they do that automatically. They know to do that. And I think women, you see this in human females too, with abortion, obviously, but I think that this is something natural in women. But it could mean that women are in their nature evil, that women only want to, women are more willing to kill a child, you know? I mean, with animals, it's usually the female animal that eats its children. But you'll notice in lions, male lions will eat another male lion's children, so that it can, because if a female lion's mate dies and needs and a new lion shows up and wants to make that lion their bitch, and they're doing it because they want to have kids. Animals don't just go off of this sexual thing like humans do, like, ooh, I want to get my cock sucked, oh my god, ooh, I just need to come, I just need the little, I need it now, man, I need it now, I'm jonesing over here. but but animals are doing it for procreation, right? And a male lion, when a female lion, when the old male lion dies, the female needs a new male. The male partner kills that female lion's children that it already had with the other lion. So the male lion eats those children because it wants to have more children, and thinks that if that female lion is prioritizing those kids, it won't prioritize the kids that he's going to give it. It's going, now that it already has these children, the lion has to focus on those children. So it kills them, gives them new children. And animals have like this natural duty to want to be like good parents, and I don't know why that involves killing your children. But, there's some ways that maybe being natural isn't a good thing. But this connection that we have, I think, is what gives us empathy, right? Because animals don't have empathy. They make decisions that are driven by their nature, and so are sort of logical. Like, I'm not saying that animals are logical, but, like, animals know what they're supposed to do. Animals know 1 + 1 = 2, right? Just because they can't say it doesn't mean they don't know it. But whatever this connection is, it gives us sort of empathy, right? Whatever this connection between us is making us feel empathy, and it leads to, and I think empathy ultimately leads to self-destruction, because humans are so empathetic nowadays because of this connection, whatever it is, that we want to sacrifice ourselves for other people. And that's not programmed in us naturally. In nature, we don't want to kill ourselves. We don't want to kill our own species. That's all something that happens from that's all stuff that happens later on. We get those ideas, but when we're children, which I think is when we're at our most animalistic state, is as children, we're very selfish. A child doesn't kill himself because a child prioritizes his life above all else and prioritizes his happiness above all else. There are a lot of ways where being childlike is kind of a good thing, because that selfishness is a good thing. That lack of empathy benefits you. But whatever this connection is, making us feel empathy, it leads to self-destruction. It leads us to believing that self-sacrifice is a virtue, that socialism is a good idea, and that we should. And I think that this is, we could say that this is God that we're connecting to, and that God's endless love is going through us. But I think that this is not accurate, because why would God want you as an individual to sacrifice yourself for all the other individuals that he created for you, right? I mean, not for you, but created. Like, he made all people to sacrifice themselves for all people. That wouldn't make much sense. So I don't think that that's what it is. I don't think God wants us to sacrifice ourselves for other people, or even our families, because it's just not a logical thing to do. And also, if he believes that all human life is valuable, why would he want us to kill each other or kill ourselves or do this stuff? If he thinks that all life is inherently equal, then we might as well just do whatever we want. What reason would there be for us to sacrifice ourselves for others, if from the viewpoint of God? Why would God want that? Why would God make that the way it has to be? Why would God put us even on earth and then give us this spiritual connection, tell us that there's more out there, that there's a heaven or a hell? Why did he put us even on this earth? Why did he give us this life to determine which afterlife we should go to? Why didn't he just give us all, why didn't he just make us perfect and put us all in the perfect place to begin with? It's like a lot of things we think about God portray God as sort of a cruel being, like that doesn't even, because he's supposed to be perfect, but he creates imperfect things. Or he's supposed to be purely good, but creates bad things, and then feels like a moral superiority to the evil that he created. But as human beings, we know that we are responsible. If we create something that does something horrible, we know that we are the ones responsible, or we don't, because parents, don't take credibility for the actions of their children, which I think that they actually should more often. I think that the actions of your children reflect the way you raised them. And parents don't blame themselves enough, honestly. Like, if you listen to the parents of school shooters, they're like, oh, my kid, he seemed like a good boy. I never thought he would do something like this. And I just don't buy it. I think you fucked him up. I think it's your fault your kid went there and killed those people. I think you are responsible for it. I think that, because that's what responsibility is. You brought this into the world. You did this. You are responsible. You taught, if your child is stupid, that's definitely your fault. If your child's an idiot, then why didn't you spend the time reading to them? Why didn't you spend the time teaching them math? Why didn't you spend the time showing them how to hunt and garden, and the time that you could have? And then when they become adults and they're stupid, you blame them. You say, oh, you were your own individual who could have made your own choices when you were a fucking child. That was your responsibility to make the kid a good adult. That was your responsibility that you failed. And that's something that pisses me off about people that will say, oh, this new generation is so fucking stupid. It's like, yeah, I agree, it's stupid. I wonder whose fault that is. I wonder. It's almost like you taught them all the values that they currently have that make them self-destructive sociopaths. It's almost like you created this, So, and this is the kind of stuff where I don't call myself a Christian, even though there's a lot of Christian ideas that I like a lot. And there's a lot of, things in the Quran and the Book of Mormon and lots of other religious books that I agree with a lot. But at the end of at the end of the day, this is all speculation. These are all ideas. And I think that we should contemplate this stuff, but I don't think we should go around saying, I know this is what will happen. Because that could lead to really dangerous ways of thinking and it could create really dangerous societies. And I think a society that is built on Christianity cannot stand. It would be self-sacrificial. It wouldn't sustain itself. It would prioritize the people over the individual and ultimately would lead to, the people can't survive without individualism. In the end, you're not helping the people because you're not prioritizing the people because you're not viewing them as individuals anyway. So it just becomes this, where people replace society with God, or either way, like a society that's built on what God wants doesn't work. You have to just unless what you think God wants is determined on the laws of nature and logic and rationality, it's just not going to work. And it's really frustrating to express my thoughts on these ideas because I want to have an intellectual way of thinking about it, not an emotional way of thinking about it. And I think a lot of people, they want to just automatically think that they want to say, I know that heaven is real. I'm going to go to a good place when I die. I'm going to ensure that because I chose to believe in Christ and therefore am deserving to go to heaven. That makes me different than all the other people. I'm special because I realized Jesus was real and I'm going to heaven. And this seems in itself just sort of like a selfish way of thinking, like you're saying, oh, I found this special thing, and that means I'm going to go to the good place, and that other people, they didn't find the special thing, so they're going to go to the bad place. I found the secret, and everything is therefore secured. It is secured. In the end, no matter how many bad decisions I make or how bad my life turns out, there's always going to be that afterlife where everything's going to be paradise. And I like the idea of a paradise, going to a paradise, but I'm not going to say I know that that's what's going to happen. I'm not going to say that I know that there's a place where bad people are going to go. And who even determines who's bad? I mean, Christians even say there are no bad people, only bad decisions. Well, if that's the case, why would they go to hell? Why would bad decisions warrant an eternity of suffering? And I just think it's no wonder that our societies keep collapsing over and over and over again, when we keep reusing the same philosophy over and over again. Christianity brought us a lot of good things, but has ultimately become outdated. And I don't mean that to say, oh, these Christians, they're so outdated, they're barbaric, but what I mean to say is certain ideas we know don't work out for us, and we should not consider them anymore. Like a society that's built on empathy, altruism, and self-sacrifice cannot sustain itself, and we've proven this time and time again. And this is what drives me nuts about socialists, especially socialists that hate Christians for some reason, which is weird because I think that Christianity is where socialism originates. But and that's where science originates, and science in itself, I would say, has almost become outdated at this point. We need a new philosophy for the new times, I think, and we need to base this philosophy off of pure individualism, and we need to focus more on responsibility, and we have to find objective meaning in life, because if life is ultimately subjective, or that all good is measured by what you can provide for other people, well, then I think that that's just not going to work out as a society. And if everybody is, against each other, this might sound crazy, but I think it actually works, because we need competition. We need people to go against each other's ideas in order to bring the new philosophy and whatever that is. We need to be asking questions, being cynical, skeptical. We need to be able to break apart an idea into pieces, right? We need to be able to break down the foundations of our philosophy and be able to explain why this is objective, why this is right, and how it benefits us. We need to be able to break down the foundations of what we believe into something that makes actual sense. And the problem with a lot of philosophy, and you see this in Nietzsche, who's one of my favorite philosophers. I love Nietzsche. I love the concept of the Übermensch and stuff like that, but he's still vague, and his ideas are very contradicting a lot of the times, and I could see Nietzsche's ideas leading to certain ways of socialist thinking, the same way I could see a lot of Carl Jung's ideas leading to certain kinds of socialist thinking. And I think that that subjectivism will destroy everything. If you believe that things are subjective, and there are lots of things that might be subjective, but we have to view them almost as objectives. If we want structure and we want order and we want to fulfill a society, we have to believe in our ideas, and we have to have coherency. But anyways, I feel like I'm going off topic. I just wanted to make a video talking about some stuff I was thinking about, and this video is going on for like 24 minutes, so I think this would be a good place to end it. But I hope that this made you think about things more, because I think that we're in a time where we really do need to be thinking about these ideas, and we need to be going against conventional morality. We need to be going against all these ideas that we're told and forced to accept in our modern day. And we shouldn't be thinking that this is the best we've ever been. We shouldn't be thinking of ourselves as morally superior or intelligently superior or any of this. We need to understand that we are just one small part of history, and history could be endless. And we really need to think of ourselves in the grand scale of history, rather than thinking of ourselves as just being in the future. Like, people think of themselves almost like we're in the future. We've got everything figured out. I mean, obviously now with our society literally falling apart, people don't really think that, but you get what I'm saying. What led to this is us thinking so highly of ourselves, thinking that we've reached a moral consensus. And that idea, I just reject the idea that the majority of people say that something is good, therefore it is good. We know that that isn't true from looking at history. Why would we think it now? And anyways, I'm getting once again off track. I'll make another video following this up though.